Welcome back to the Kate Thurman Show. We have with us today Michael C. Davis, author of Trapped, the City of Angels, right?
Yes,
See, I did a little homework, Michael. Michael, thank you for being here with us. Can you give us a little information about you?
sure. I'm an actor, writer, director, producer, humanitarian, as I've been labeled, accidental activist from Brooklyn, New York, by way of Jamaica. I love curry goat, rice and peas, and I'm a phenomenal cook.
Well, wait a minute now. I can cook too. What you like to cook, Michael?
I love to cook proteins. I love to do like ribs, Jamaican food, ackee and saltfish, curry goat is one of my favorites. I love to cook down like fish, any kind of like whole snapper, Chilean sea bass, halibut, stuff like that. I love to cook it all, really.
Okay, I love that. Well, thank you, Michael, for letting us know that you are a great cook, author, you're filmmaker, activist, humanitarian. I caught all of that. And Trap City of Angels. I want to know a little bit about Jasmine.
Jasmine is representation of all of us. She is a ball of fear, a ball of courage. She has those dark thoughts like all of us do. Only maybe difference is that she lives in them in some
Mm,
ways. She has the potential of being an extremely extraordinary, powerful person.
mm,
And she sets herself back in many ways because of her trauma. So there's a lot of self sabotage. And I look out at myself and I look out at the world. And I see that self sabotage is something that we all face and we all deal with, imposter syndrome. And she falls for it at different times. But because it's a three-part series and it's three books,
mm-hmm.
we're going to see that Jasmine learns how to rise to the top. And I believe that we all have that potential to do that as well.
Being an author myself, I just love to read and I love to write. And so when I was, doing some research on you, I'm like, okay, he's awesome. He's a humanitarian, activist, and an author, filmmaker. You're all of those things. So when you decided to write the books, I want to stand on the books because that's what the Lord is leading me to do, to stay on this book. Because with the character Jasmine, I was really drawn in with her. What made you come up with that character? I know it's a three-part series, but what made you come up with that?
Man, so it initially started as a TV series, and it
Okay.
still is.
Hmm.
It was called The Circuit, and then it was called The Trap, and now Trap City of Angels. So it's gone through many iterations, but she's always been Jasmine.
Okay.
And I think I wanted to tell Jasmine's story because Jasmine, she represents an amalgamation of all of these women and men that I've met on both
Hmm.
sides. So the pimps, the traffickers, the recruiters, the women, the victims in it. She's kind of a combination of all of these people. And I
Hmm.
thought that's what would make her most interesting for an audience is how someone who literally has nothing can rise to the top and have everything and
Hmm.
then have it taken away from them and then be forced to either stay there or rebuild. And in
Hmm.
that case, what does she rebuild as? So I thought that was a great way to tell the story of how we can kind of have a resurrection within ourselves,
Hmm.
and simultaneously do that in a world that I like, which is money, power, materialism, capitalism, and then throwing sexuality in that. Sex is a dynamic thing, right? Like
Yes.
sex is one of the most healing, one of the most powerful things that two humans can do. In
Right.
fact, just one person, one human being can use sexual energy to create content, um,
Hmm.
heal their body if they
Hmm.
understand how to use sexual energy correctly.
Hmm.
And if you bind two people together and use that creative energy, well, you can make a baby. We can actually make an entire new life force, right? So
Hmm.
sexual energy is very important. Yet in society, in today's society, we have diminished it to the orgasm, to the money shot, to
Mhm.
OnlyFans to money for sex to girls doing, this kind of stuff on Instagram and shaking their bodies and dancing to the
Right.
songs. Like, we have reduced one, if not the most powerful thing that we can do as human beings together, into the most rudimentary, prehistoric, low based, first chakra, no foundational purpose besides just strictly pleasure, which is not even pleasurable for most in that in that way. So, and I think Jasmine is another great way to dissect that, because too,
Mhm.
Jasmine is going to learn that her sexuality was taken over very early on in her life. And it's
Mhm.
going to be a fun journey to see how she reclaims that and reclaims the purpose behind intimacy, behind affection, and behind actual sexual intercourse.
I like that. Michael, I like that. Everyone, you have to go watch The Circuit, Trap, and Trap the City of Angels. You said it started off as a series, show, right?
As a series in script, not in real. I never put it to production. So that's when I said, okay, I'm going to turn Trapped into an actual series. So then I made
Okay.
a
I can't wait.
drama, and now it's the book, and then I'm going to go back now into making it a streaming series. So
Okay.
I needed to get the book out first, I realized,
Mm.
because the book needed to really explore more of her world than I think the TV series would do.
Yeah, I agree. Because a lot of times when you read it first, I know me, if I read something first and then I go back and watch it, it makes more sense. But if I watch something first and then I go back and read it, I'm all off. I'm like, well, wait a minute, something's not right here. Because
Yeah.
you have to do a lot of editing and cutting, to make it into a movie, unless it's going to be a long, long, long movie. And then you can risk losing viewers. I don't know. But I just know for me personally, I like to read first and then watch. I can't, it's like when I read the Bible, I can't watch a Bible show first and then read the Bible. I literally have to read me. I have to put myself in that place. So even with reading the Bible, reading Trapped, it's like I have to envision me
Yeah.
standing there watching. As I'm reading, I have to be watching. It's like a movie that plays in your head. So I like
Yes.
that. I like that. And you're a humanitarian. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So, I grew up in Brooklyn, in New York in the
Mhm.
80s and 90s. So, as I say, I always saw the best and worst of humanity. It was a very no there was no filter, there was no colored filter of what human life was. I saw adults beating up, 12-year-olds for, train passes. I saw 12-year-olds beating up adults, to get
Mhm.
on, so I saw, and then I saw everything in between. I saw dead bodies, I saw unfortunate reality of crack, how it ravaged the communities, and I saw how Vietnam vets were treated, and homeless on the street. So I would say my first act of humanitarianism was with the homeless vets. When I was, I believe I was 9 or 10 years old when I wrote this script called Reminisce, and it was about some homeless people that I had talked to that told me their story about how they were in Vietnam, and I wrote a movie about that. It was my first movie, actually, and ever since then, I've had a penchant to want to speak to or speak for the underdog,
Mhm.
and for people in society who are considered the throwaways. And I think personally, from my experiences, the people who are considered the throwaways are some of the most dynamic, powerful people on the planet. And
I
that's
agree.
in many reasons why they've been thrown away, because I feel like the darker energies on the planet
Mhm.
intentionally go after the strongest with temptation and lust and addiction and all these things. And it's so
Mhm.
easy for us to get pulled into that. You can see how it feels like, in many ways, the devil has a hold on this planet, right? So
Yes.
I the humanitarian side in me realizes that as an artist, that skills that I've been given to write, act, direct, and I really say the acting is a part of it, but I really say the writing and directing, that's really, I think, where a lot of my humanitarian work comes out, because as an
Mhm.
actor, I'll take a part that I just that's going to be fun. It may not be a part, I didn't write it, right? So it may be a part that I'm just going to do. As a writer and as a director, I feel like that's a lot of times where you're going to see that humanitarian spark come out for me.
Mhm.
It's just part of, I think, my nature. The sex trafficking work came about without me choosing that. It found me actually because I was in Bulgaria in 2003 making a movie
Mhm.
for the Sci-Fi Channel, and I took part in a fundraising event while I was there for an organization called Face to Face Bulgaria.
Mhm.
And their whole mission was to spread awareness about forced prostitution. So people were lying to the young girls in the poor villages that if they
Mhm.
made it to Sofia, the main city, that those girls would then be given modeling contracts and things like that. But
Mhm.
really, they were just being forced into prostitution with the people that were coming in town, wealthy bankers and whatever else. So I ended up volunteering with that organization while I was making that action film, and went to a number of different orphanages and schools and talked with a lot of potential victims or victims of sex trafficking. And I came across the story of Svetlana, who was 13 years old and was forced into prostitution by her adopted parents. And she ended up jumping out of a, well, she ended up getting pregnant by one of the Johns, and in her fifth month. And in the eighth month, she found out that they were going to either take the baby, kill the baby, or basically force that young child into prostitution in the future. So she ended up jumping out of a window to escape, and broke her legs, but she survived. And I thought, wow, that story is so impactful and so powerful, and
Yeah.
I can see it. Imagine if I can make a movie out of that and turn a lot of the apathy that I saw in that country at that time about this issue into empathy. And I just say that it was apathy the same way that it's necessary, the same way that it's apathy in America right now, right? It's apathy meaning, well, those girls want to do that. Well, that's the idea, that's the thinking, but there's never really this bigger concept of conceptualization of trauma, abuse, economic trauma, right? So if those young girls had opportunities to live a healthy life, go to school, come out of school, and have a job that paid them a real wage, would they really choose that? So I wanted to dissect all of that in some ways, and that's why I ended up doing Trapped, because I want to really look at it on a much more bigger macro global level. But that's
Mhm.
how my work with sex trafficking or anti-sex trafficking started.
Wow. Let me say you are a blessing. I thank you for the work that you do. Just listening to you, my heart got full. Like I have my own nonprofit, so I know about giving back. We help we feed the homeless. We do all of that, and we have our own nonprofit underneath the nonprofit, which is Faith Safe Havens. We minister to women from sexual assault, domestic violence, the ones that's suffering in silence. So it touched me a little bit just listening to and the compassion that you have for helping others. Whew, thank you.
And you.
So you're welcome. Thank you. We're needed. A lot of times people look at the work that we do on the outside, but it's the inner work. So I like the inner work. It's the inner work that I like to focus on. The godly work. That is godly work. You're here for a purpose, and you're living out your purpose, and you're walking in your purpose, and that it's just amazing to me. Really emotional about it because you're doing wonderful work. The stories are your ministry, the humanitarian, all of that is ministry, and you're just doing wonderful work. So I want to make sure that I say this, and I probably said it 6 times already, but thank you. So, and I want to get into just the industry itself. It could be competitive, and how do
Yeah.
you stay, grounded?
Um, I think a lot of what I'm actually putting in Trap is the answer to that. So the same way that Jasmine's going to have to learn over the course of time how to regulate her emotions, how to use breathing work, how to use prayer, how to use meditation, how to use positive thinking, how to use reframing, how to use focus and discipline. It's all of that, right?
Mhm.
It's all of that. I'm writing another book with spiritual principles for young boys to live their best. That book's coming out in January, and that it's the same dynamic that I put in Trap. It is a minute by life for everyone, regardless of what industry you're in, is a minute by minute experiment and examination. So every thought is an experiment. Do I have the power to transmute that thought? Every emotion is an opportunity
Mhm.
to reframe if it's a low vibration energy, right?
Mhm.
So that's how I operate within the industry. And sometimes it beats me down. I mean, I was on hold for 3 projects just in the past 3 months, 3 of which projects could have potentially been significant changes in my life. In particular, my bank account, which would feed the 15,000 projects that I have, right?
Oof.
You don't get them. You learn, for instance, how to, diffuse the emotion that comes with that, especially over time. But some
Yeah.
days it gets you, more so than others. And that's why I say every minute is an opportunity to do the work. And as I say in the Break Free Win book, you have to have a practice, because if you don't, when the emotions or circumstances come
Mhm.
unexpectedly, if you don't have a practice, they'll wash you away and you may
That's
not ever get washed back on shore. And that's what happens with Jasmine. In many instances in the book, because Jasmine doesn't actually have a practice to take
mhm.
her out of any low vibrational emotional state, besides
Mhm.
smoking a blunt, maybe drinking that drink, or numbing herself with TV or doom scrolling on social media, she ends up getting lost in that and pulled back into that world. You have to have a practice, and that's what we're going to unpack for Jasmine in the book. Is how does she find herself outside of her pimp racks? How does she find herself in this new world where everything is so fresh? She doesn't even know what direct deposit is. She's never had a banking account. She doesn't know anything about the IRS. She's always gotten paid under the table and in tips and in cash, and it gave her money to her pimp. So she's never had to take care of herself. She's never even bought her own cell phone.
Mm.
So there's a whole lot that she has to figure out in this new world, where for a curvy, beautiful black young woman, people still are going to treat her like a product. They're still going to treat her like a thing. They're still going to objectify her, which is one of her challenges. It's like, well, if I was being objectified on the street and I'm being objectified in this quote unquote good world, good
Right.
society, and I'm making less money in it, then what's the payoff of being quote unquote good?
Right.
And that's her journey. And I think
Yeah.
that's the journey for a lot of young women in today's society right now, unfortunately, and for a lot of people, but I'm focusing specifically on young women. I think a lot of young women have a real struggle right now, and that's why I wrote Trap. And I think that struggle is I'm hot, I'm a girl, I'm supposed to be taken care of, I'm supposed to be loved this way. Social media is telling me that I'm beautiful, and because I have a body, I need a high value man who's going to pay all
Mhm.
my bills, do all of these things, and I'm not going to learn how to do anything for myself. I'm not going to know what my value is besides my looks. And the problem for young girls like that is your looks will fade, honey. Trust me, I'm
It's
turning
true.
50. And as your looks fade, if all you develop is your body and you go to the gym and your butt and stuff like that, and that starts to fade, well, do you know anything else? I say your looks may get you in the room, but your personality, your charm, your charisma, your knowledge keeps you at a seat at the table. So
Absolutely.
this is part of what Trapped is really trying to speak to. It is where
Mm.
we are putting and assigning value as
Mhm.
men, as women, as boys and girls.
Absolutely. And it's so many Jasmines in the
Oh,
world that, and so many Jasmines that you're gonna touch with this book if they would just read it. And sometimes, when some people read it, they're gonna be like, wait, that's me. And you're doing the work. This assignment that you're on is going to, oh shit, I'm trying not to go there. I'm trying not to go there. But this assignment that you're on is going to produce so much for you. So much more is coming for you from this assignment because of the work. This work is touching. And again, I say thank you. Anything that's coming after Trap? I know you're going to do the movies after the books. What else do you have out of the 15,000 projects that you have that you're working on?
so it's good. It's a fun time actually, because I'm going to start the Trap 2 book shortly after I finish the Life Break Free Win book. Life Break Free Win book, I think I was sitting down, I was bored one day. I remember sitting on my bed and I said, okay, God, I need something to do during this downtime.
Mhm.
And I just heard on my heart finished the book for boys.
Yeah.
And I then immediately went in front of the computer and started to just write. And then it just came out of me over like 5 days. So I'm in the editing stage of it now. It's called Life Break Free Win. And it's a book for everyone because it's really just it's speaking to my own personal story and my own life experiences and things that I've learned being an actor and being a public speaker and traveling to so many different countries around the world, and things that I
Mhm.
picked up from different religions and cultures. I really do want to speak to young boys in particular, though, because one of the things that I've seen in doing this humanitarian work with domestic violence, with sex trafficking, child abuse, and so forth, is that a lot of times I don't, I'll say it this way.
Okay.
If we want a world that is better,
Hmm.
we have to have young men and men that are better. And
Absolutely.
it's not going to be easy because we're all conditioned to be versions of masculinity that are aggressive, violent, uncontrolled, emotionally dysregulated, physically incapable. We're told to have strength or look a certain way, not to actually protect, but to for
Mhm.
vanity. We're
Right.
told to make money so that we can have material stuff to show off versus to actually teach how to build generational wealth. Like I'm really wanting to teach young boys, and including myself in this, how we can actually come together as a male community and
Mm.
love each other for all the right reasons, and then send that love outward to the women and to our planet around us.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's the next project,
Uh-huh.
and of course the trap series, which I'll be doing as well.
Okay. You got a lot of work to do, and it doesn't sound like it's work to you. It's and your hardest posture is not work. It's a desire. Like I said, it's an assignment. You're meant to do this, and great things are going to come from this. And can you tell everyone where they can get the book Trapped?
Yeah,
Um,
so City of Angels is on Amazon. That's where it is right now. The audiobook, the ebook, and the paperback. The audiobook is also on Spotify as well. And then they can follow me at Trap City of Angels on Instagram, M. Cory Davis on Instagram, and then trapcityofangels.com, which will lead them to everything.
oh, wow. I thank you for coming and sharing with us everything that you do. You are truly a godsend to us, everyone, and the work that you do is going to pay off. Big things are coming. And again, I say thank you for coming to the Kate Thurman Show. It has been great.
Thank you for
Until
having
next time, I'm gonna have to have you come back. Okay.
me. Will do.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Bye.